You're most welcome to my YouTube laboratory. My name is Daudi Alaba. If you're watching me for the first time, this is a laboratory where we practically share our experience about poultry farming. In my most recent video, I posted a video about, actually it was a jubilation of receiving eggs after 24th week. And this farm, which is not actually my own farm, I visited it some few weeks ago when the owner called me, Daudi Alaba, I need your help. My birds are already 24 weeks and there is no single egg that I can see. Please, can you come and check on something that I can really do so that I can see eggs? So I told him, let me get some time and then I pass by. I will see what we can do about it. So I reached there. I checked on some few things, but fortunate enough, the birds were properly grown. I reached there, I searched for where the problems would be. I thought maybe he contemplate calling broilers as layers, but they were really good layers that I saw there. So what I did was I checked on everything from the records on how they had been feeding, the mixing formula. I came to realize the biggest problem was their feed. Most people were asking me about the formula that I used that helped the birds to start to lay eggs. So today I'm going to be breaking to you on what I call the formula for the birds to start to lay. Generally, I call my farm very successful when my birds are raised healthy from day one up to the time that they start to lay, probably on week 18. When they maintain their peak production for about a long period of time, that is 95%. That is when I call my farm successfully. So that is how I attribute success of my farm into. And when it comes to the success, many people they attribute it into the breed of the birds. Which breed performs the best without knowing what can be done the best for the breed to perform the best. So what I focus so much on what we should do the best so that the best breed remains the best breed. To some extent, you may get the best breed, but when you are giving them very terrible services or the feed, they may enter performing the worst and then you hate the breed. That is how I've seen some of the farmers or people around, they also make their decisions in such a way. So what we are going to be focusing on here is what we should be doing so that our birds do the best for us. So this one does not start when the birds start to lay. It starts right from when the birds are hatched. That is called that is from the hatchery, and then when they are brought to your farm, you have to put them in a special room which is called a brooder. A brooder is a special room where baby chicks are kept under controlled conditions for them to grow, and then it is in the process called brooding, and brooding in itself is also raising baby chicks under controlled conditions until 23rd or 5th week, when they can really survive their natural environment without the requirement of their mother. So baby chicks, they generally don't come with their mothers. Since they are very many in number, they are just coming alone. So what you do is to become their mother. Now what you do is to make sure that you provide all the necessary conditions that the mother of the chick is supposed to provide for the chicks to grow. So what are these necessary conditions? Maintaining the temperature in the room, and then teaching the birds on how to feed. This is where the point comes in. Where people go wrong is they think they are still young, they cannot start to lay. They will start to focus so much, importantly, when they are about to approach period of laying. I will tell you that the success of your farm starts right from the beginning, from when they are baby chicks. So they at that period, these chicks, they don't know how to eat, they don't know how to drink. So you have to teach them on how to drink, on how to eat. So when you bring the birds into the brooder, they are different breeds, they have different characters. Why is it important for them to be active? You know, immune system is actually enzyme controlled. The enzymes are activated. So if you don't make them active, so enzymes will remain dormant, and that one will deliberately lead them to the attacks of the pathogens which will attack them, and then at the end of the day you start to lose your birds because their immunity has been reduced because of their dormancy. Second point, their reluctance to feeding. In this farm, we have two flocks. The first flock is the one that stressed us by laying up to 24th week, and this is the second one, which is just 8 weeks than the first flock did. So we are training them to start to lay at the time which is actual right. Right now, it is already evening. You can see they're yet having feed inside. So it is already evening. Imagine it is evening, the birds are not feeding. So there are some circumstances in the farm where birds they just feed at their own time, and that is what is one of the biggest problem that farmers face in their farms. It means when your birds they have the choice to eat feed, that is one of the biggest problem, because what matters is not the feed in the feeders. What matters so much is the feed in the crop. I understand you know the crop is the storage where the birds store their feed. How can you control something like this when you realize that your birds are not really feeding the way you expect them to be doing it? What you do is you take like 2 days or 3 days, you collect the feed. When they are not feeding so vividly, just give them multivitamin. Multivitamin is actually something that gives them energy, and also it brings appetite. It means appetite is normally initiated with the hunger. There is one of my friends who told me that I'm just very hungry, but I don't have appetite for food. I did not understand anything and the birds are making me to understand. Like I told you, these birds right now it is evening, but the feed is still in the feeders. So it means what you need to do is to collect the feed, let them starve, let them be hungry, and then by the time like they stay up to 4 hours, keep them 4 hours without feed around them. Reluctance in eating feed is something which actually can reduce on the production, and that one reflects on the weights. You may realize that you are feeding birds very well, but at the end of the day the weights are just very low. That is what you don't need to see in your farm. What you need to do is to make sure that they are in the target weights, and this target weight will only be achieved when you feed them or when they keep feeding properly. Distribution of the feeders and the drinkers inside the chicken house. Recently I was asking one of the worker in my poultry farm about why he has left very few drinkers inside there, and while others he has collected them out. He told me that these other ones that he has collected out, the water has got finished. Now he is still waiting for those ones inside to get finished. Now I want to tell you, this is one of the biggest mistakes that farmers they make. These are just simple mistakes, but they are very big in long run. So what happens in the chicken house is birds, they are generally animals that are not really bothered to go and look food for very long distances, most especially these exotic breeds. So when it comes to feeding, they will only look for feed around them. By the time they don't find feed around them, they don't bother, they don't care. So when the distribution of the drinkers and the feeders around them is just very scarce, or they can't find drink around them, they will decide to stay thirsty. Or when there is no feeder, they will decide to stay hungry, and that one will reflect on their production or how they are raised to lay. So those are some of the problems. So what you need to do is to arrange the feeders and the drinkers around all over the chicken house, so that wherever the birds turn around themselves, they must find either the drinker or the feeder. That way you will teach them on how to actually feed in appropriate way, that all of them can at least be almost in the same weight. That's why when you are taking the weights, you'll find there are some birds which are just skinny. You don't know why, as if they are being denied the feed, but it is not. And considering the feed formula, feed is not something that you can just mix the same way that I do, because the concentrate, for me I use concentrate. I don't mix my own feed, I use concentrate, and the concentrate that I'm using is not the same concentrate that you use in your farm. So it means the mixing formulas are also very different. The ratio of the protein and the vitamin in the feed is very different from the one that you use. So there is not necessarily that there is a single formula that brings success into your farm. Those few points that I've shared with you are the necessities that you need to consider and follow, so that you hit the success of your farm. The most important thing about the feed is actual when they are milling the maize. Most of the times, most of the feed that farmers they buy is not really the good quality, just right from the market, because most people who are doing the business, they will decide to mix the real maize with the maize bran, and at the same time they put the proportion of the maize bran more than that one of the maize, and there the feed is just completely contaminated. So when you happen to buy feed, because you don't have a milling machine, or you're buying the broken maize, make sure that you break it by yourself and you are present when they are breaking it, because the quality always gets contaminated right from the market. And make sure that the quality of the maize that you feed your birds with is the same quality that you can even feed yourself with. And in case you also use concentrate like what I do, make sure that the suppliers of the feed, they give you the mixing formula for their particular feed. Don't buy just feed which does not have the mixing formula. Don't buy that. And again, consider the consistency. When you start the certain particular concentrate with your birds from day one, make sure that you go with that particular concentrate up to when you sell the birds off. Don't change feed every time when there is no feed in the market. Make sure that where you're buying your feed is where it doesn't go off. Consider those big shops where the feed is always available in very good quality. It is very important. And the last point that I want to talk about is the finance. This is necessarily when people realize that they are running out of cash, and this is where they start to cut shortcuts. Sometimes they give good food, some of the times they only give the maize bran, and some of the times even the birds, they starve. There is no way you can come inside the chicken house and start to advise them that let us be patient, I will get for you feed maybe some 1 week to come. That way it doesn't work in the poultry farm. So what they need is just consistency. You need to be giving them feed every time, and this one has also closed the farms, especially when you run out of cash and you are unable to feed your birds. They will develop malnutrition, and when they have malnutrition, it means they will not really grow well. They will be attacked, they will fall sick, and deliberately they will start to die. By the time they start to die, it means you lose the whole farm. The farm is sitting on the birds. The farm doesn't sit on the structures, the houses. It sits on the birds. By the time you lose the birds, especially when they reach the most difficult periods are from week 15 to the period when they start to lay. So you should be very, very conscious about it. When it comes to finance, make sure that you have very proper plan. You may set it a little bit bigger than what you can afford, but make sure that you are unstoppable to really achieve what you have already planned. So this one is very, very important. Actually, it was something that I went through, but I want to tell you that it is something that is very, very stressful. If you are not ready for that, please, you cut the cord according to your size. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Daudi Alaba. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that I get motivated to do more for this laboratory. We rise by lifting others. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for supporting Daudi Alaba's laboratory.